Julie had been practicing in the labor and delivery for over 19 years. She was well-liked and respected by her peers and had a great reputation as a team player. She'd be the nurse's nurse, the person that you could always turn to. She had started in her unit a bereavement program to help support mothers who lost their newborns. For over 19 years, Julie did not make a medication error. But on a busy holiday, the 4th of July, 2006, she commits an error that takes the life of a 16-year-old expecting mother. As a result of several system failures, Julie mistakenly takes an epidural solution instead of an antibiotic solution and connects it to an IV line. The patient goes into an immediate cardiac arrest. A code is called, as is an emergency C-section, to save the baby. Despite tending to the patient for over 2 hours, the code team is not able to revive the mother. In Julie's case, there were several contributing factors. The first one was fatigue. Actually, there was a policy at the hospital that would recognize and reward nurses that took on extra shifts. So on this 4th of July, a very busy weekend, everybody wants to have off, there was a call for help from the unit. And as Julie had done many times before, she decided to take on the extra shifts. She worked for 16 and a half hours, slept for less than 5 hours in an empty patient room, and began her third shift at 7 a.m. the next day. The second contributing factor was a formalized workaround that had been developed and put in place by the unit's practice council as part of a physician satisfaction program. Patients would be prepared for an epidural before the anesthesiologist arrived. The goal of the to-do list was to decrease the amount of time anesthesia had to spend in the unit. The list guided nurses to obtain the epidural medication, insert and prime the tubing, place the meds in the infusion pumps ahead of time, and have the paperwork ready for the physician to sign when they arrive. Just like every nurse on the unit, Julie prepared everything and had everything ready to go. The next contributing factor was a recent technology deployment. There was a new barcode system that was being adopted for all the medications in the unit. The technology had been in place only 2 weeks prior to the event, and Julie had been out for one of those weeks. So her training, like better term, had been rushed. Also, as with every technology, there were some teething problems. The new scanner was unreliable in scanning clear infusion bags, and the medication information would then have to be entered manually. Day prior to the event, Julie had repeated problems with the system and had all but given up on scanning IV bags. The final contributing factor was similarity of the IV bags. The packaging for the epidural and the antibiotic solution were very similar, with both clear infusion bags and identical ports, making them both compatible for IV tubing. And even though they were appropriately labeled, they were easily confused. When Julie went to dispense the antibiotic solution, she did not try to use the barcode because she had had so many problems beforehand. She inadvertently picked up the epidural bag and delivered the epidural medication through the intravenous route that was meant for the antibiotic, causing the patient to arrest. After the code, when the error was discovered and Julie realized what had happened, she collapsed and was admitted to the hospital. They put her under suicide watch. The weeks that followed, she was terminated from her post with no severance pay. Certain facts about the event were leaked to the press. She was subsequently criminally charged by the state attorney general for manslaughter because she had administered drug without a physician order, but also been negligent about it. When she returned to the hospital where she had practiced for over 19 years for pastoral care, the administration asked her to leave the premises and not to return. In the darkest hours that followed, she was entirely abandoned, facing the possibility of jail time, a large fine, loss of license, and loss of livelihood. Well, this story clearly started with a tragedy. It's been an inspiration and the basis for a nationally recognized safe practice addressing the care of the caregiver involved in adverse events. In the last 2.5 years she's been working with us at TMIT, and Julie has been embraced by the leaders of patient safety who are using her case to avoid and prevent future harm to both patients and caregiver.